Hey everyone, I'm Jason, and this is your commentary on Genesis chapter 14. At that time, Amraphel was the king of Babylonia. Arioch was the king of Elazar. Chedorlaomer was the king of Elam, and Tidal was the king of Goyim. They went to war against 5 kings. The kings were Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela. Bela was also called Zoar. Those 5 kings all gathered their armies together in the valley of Siddim. It was the valley of the Dead Sea. For 12 years they had been under the rule of Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they opposed him. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who helped him went to war. They won the battle against the Rephaites in Asheroth, Karnaim. They also won the battle against the Zuzites in Ham, and the Emites in Shaveh Kiriathaim. They did the same thing to the Horites in the hill country of Seir. They marched all the way to El Paran near the desert. Then they turned back. They went to En Mishpat. En Mishpat was also called Kadesh. They took over the whole territory of the Amalekites. They also won the battle against the Amorites, who were living in Azaron Tamar. Then the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah marched out. The kings of Admah, Zeboim, and Bela went with them. Bela was also called Zoar. They lined up their armies for battle in the valley of Siddim. They got ready to fight against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Babylonia, and Arioch, king of Elazar. There were 4 kings against 5. The valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah ran away from the battle. Some of their men fell into the pits. The rest escaped to the hills. The 4 kings took all the things that belonged to Sodom and Gomorrah. They also took all the food. Then they went away. They carried away Lot, Abram's nephew, and the things he owned. Lot was living in Sodom at that time. In the previous chapter, we heard that Lot went near Sodom. He set up his camps near Sodom. Now we find out that he actually went into Sodom and became established there. One man escaped. He came and reported everything to Abram. Abram was a Hebrew. He was living near the large trees of Mamre the Amorite. Mamre was a brother of Eshcol and Aner. All of them helped Abram. Abram heard that Lot had been captured, so he called out his 318 trained men. All of them were sons of his servants. They chased the enemy as far as Dan. During the night, Abram separated his men into groups. They attacked the enemy and drove them away. They chased them north of Damascus as far as Hobah. Abram took back all the things the kings had taken. He brought back his nephew Lot and the things Lot owned. He also brought back the women and the other people. Now, this is the first time that Abram saves Lot. Another time that he saves him is going to be in just a couple of chapters. In a couple chapters, he saves Lot through prayer and intercession. Here, he saves Lot with the sword. There's times in our lives that when we truly care about someone, we want to save them. And there are times when we need to pray about it, but there's also times when we need to take action and be the answer to that prayer. This is an example of Abram taking action. After Abram won the battle over Chedorlaomer and the kings who helped him, he returned. The king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh. The valley of Shaveh was also called the King's Valley. Melchizedek was the king of Jerusalem. He brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High. Melchizedek is a very interesting person. We see him here, but we also see him later on in the book of Hebrews. Melchizedek, his name actually means King of Righteousness. And he's the King of Righteousness, and he's also the King of Salem, which is peace. So he's a symbol of Christ, who is King of Righteousness and King of Peace. And what he does here is bring out bread and wine, and that's also a symbol that's going to be used in the New Testament as well. So he gave a blessing to Abram. When he gives a blessing to Abram, anyone who gives the blessing is always superior to the one who's receiving the blessing. Abram, later on, when he becomes Abraham, and his descendants, they're going to set up a new type of priesthood based upon Aaron. So it's an Aaronic priesthood. So Melchizedek isn't part of the priesthood that we're going to find later on in the next couple of books. His actually supersedes Abram's. When he blesses Abram, he's showing that his priesthood is actually superior as well to that of Abram. This is going to be very important in the New Testament because Jesus is going to be of the priesthood of Melchizedek, not of Aaron. So he gave a blessing to Abram. He said, "May God Most High bless Abram. May the Creator of heaven and earth bless him. Give praise to God Most High. He gave your enemies into your hand." Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of everything. This is the very first time that we see a tithe given, and it's given from Abram to Melchizedek. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people, keep everything else for yourself." But Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I have raised my hand to the Lord. He is God Most High. He's the creator of heaven and earth. I have taken an oath. I have said that I won't accept anything that belongs to you. I won't take even a thread or the strap of a sandal. You will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.'" So the king of Sodom, later on we realize Sodom is just full of evil and wickedness. And this is the same type of strategy that the devil tries to use on believers. He says, "Oh, don't worry about the people in your life. Don't have to go after them. Just give them to me, and I will give you all the riches." So we're constantly being distracted by material possessions that we lose sight of what's really important. It's the people. It's their souls. That should be our focus. So it says here, "I'll accept only what my men have eaten and what belongs to Aner, Eshol, and Mamre. Those 3 men went with me. Let them have their share." Abram's very wise because later on he will become extremely powerful and very rich, and he wants to have absolutely nothing to do with the king of Sodom. He's separating himself that way there's not even a question about who it is that made Abram rich. It is going to be God who's going to bless him and make him prosper. Alright, well that's it for Genesis chapter 14. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you next time.